We recognize that CVUUS gathers on land seized from the Western Abenaki people by European colonizers. We respect the Abenaki's spiritual relationship to the land and waters of the Champlain Valley. We are committed to promoting knowledge about their history and culture, to building a peaceful and more just relationship with them, and to help repair the damage done by the breaking of trust. Welcome, everybody. My name is Pam Berenbaum. I'm a member of this congregation, and I'm your worship associate today. It's my pleasure to be here alongside one of our interim co-ministers, the Reverend Christina Sillari. We greet all of you here, those of you on Zoom, and those who might be watching the recording later. We're glad that you all are here. And we offer a special welcome to those of you who may be here for the first time. You're welcome here no matter what. We welcome every background and every identity. We can all be our authentic selves here. If you are new, please sign the guest book in the foyer so that we can keep in touch with you. And please join us for social hour downstairs after the service so we can get to know you. So let's light this chalice to begin our service. Please join me in saying the chalice lighting words. May the light of our chalice ignite wisdom, and our eternal flame burn away illusions, trusting the warmth of our authentic being, together moving forward to mend the world. Thank you, Gwen.
Morning. Our opening words are a poem called Morning Offering from Irish poet and priest John O'Donoghue. Morning Offering. All that is eternal in me, welcome the wonder of this day, the field of brightness it creates, offering time for each thing to arise and illuminate. I place on the altar of dawn the quiet loyalty of my breath, the tent of thought where I shelter, wave of desire I am sure to, and all beauty drawn to the eye. May my mind come alive today to the invisible geography that invites me to new frontiers, to break the dead shell of yesterdays, to risk being disturbed and changed. May I have the courage today to live the life that I would love, to postpone my dream no longer, but to do at last what I came here for, and waste my heart on fear no more. We're going to sing a song, God of Grace and God of Glory, and if you don't like that hymn, because you don't like the word God, you don't have to sing it, or you could replace the word God with another word as long as it's one syllable. Please join me in singing hymn number 115, God of Grace and God of Glory.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Julia Santerre. I'm the Abi coordinator, and today we are talking about trusting ourselves. So I'm doing another all-ages story time with Julia, and I have another book. This one is called Summer Birds, The Butterflies of Maria Marion, and it is actually about a real person who lived a long time ago in the 1600s, and how she trusted herself despite her times. Each year, the sky fills with summer birds. Many people call them butterflies. Everyone believes that these insects come from mud, as if by magic. I disagree. I am only 13 years old, but I capture insects. I study them. I have to catch my insects in secret. Neighbors would accuse me of witchcraft if they knew. Everyone says insects are evil, but I know my summer birds are beautiful and harmless. I keep caterpillars and summer birds in boxes and jars. I feed the caterpillars with leaves. I sit still. I watch. Caterpillars are born from eggs laid by summer birds. The caterpillars eat leaves, and they grow and eat some more. When the caterpillars are big enough, they spin cocoons. These are made of silky threads. While the caterpillars rest inside their silky cocoons, they turn into summer birds. The summer birds come out of their cocoons with wings ready to fly. Then they fly from one flower to another, sipping nectar. I know the grown-ups are wrong about summer birds. Insects are not born from mud. I have seen their whole life cycle with my own eyes. Insects grow slowly, changing from one form to another. None of the forms are evil. I love to paint colorful pictures of every kind of caterpillar, cocoon, and summer bird. I keep a notebook filled with my paintings. I write down everything the summer birds do. In my paintings, I always show which kind of leaves the caterpillars eat. I also paint the flowers where summer birds drink nectar. Sometimes I think that I am like a summer bird, waiting to fly. Right now I'm a child, but in a few years I will be grown. When I am a grown-up, I will be free to travel to faraway lands, painting all sorts of rare summer birds and flowers. Maybe I will even paint the lizards and frogs of faraway lands. I have some tadpoles in a jar of water. I have seen how they are born from eggs, not from mud. I watch the tadpoles eat and grow until finally, when they are big enough, they begin to grow legs. The tadpoles have turned into frogs. Someday, I will put my paintings into a book. Then everyone will know the truth about small animals that change their forms. When people understand the life cycles of creatures that change forms, they will stop calling the small animals evil. They will learn, as I have, by seeing a wingless caterpillar turn into a flying summer bird. I wonder what you could do if you trusted yourself. We'll sing out the kids.
the book that Julia just read reminded me, I was one of those kids that used to collect all sorts of, animals and bugs and frogs and whatnot, and I once caught a really cool snake, so I brought it to show my mom, and that's when I found out she was terrified of snakes. The kind of terrified where you scream and like wave your arms in the air like this for like 10 minutes. So, didn't do that again. So we have something that did not make it into the order of service, and I apologize for that, but it is a reminder about our Roots and Wings campaign. As I hope everyone knows, CVUUS is raising funds through the Roots and Wings campaign. We're raising money for both the annual budget, which includes our work in the community, and we're also raising funds for the long-term stewardship of this beautiful building, which hosts the activities of over 40 community organizations. CVUUS member Kimberly Gray is going to share a testimonial with us, and after Kimberly speaks, Heidi Sulis, will give us an update on the campaign.
Good morning, everyone. I have kind of a start going back a little bit and then kind of bringing us up to current. So I familiar with Unitarian Universalism from my late father, who is a musician within a community that we were in, where there was a lot of celebration of the arts, celebration of community, and growing up in that environment, I was able to experience a lot of love, a lot of understanding, a lot of respect for, again, the arts and the sciences. I went, when I started my own family, on to become really invested and involved in the community. We were there for about 15 years and then relocated to New England, where we had joined another community that was also a UU community as well in Providence, Rhode Island. And then we made the decision in 2021 to move to Vermont. And I had this very, very comfortable and very safe and very appreciative perspective, raising my own daughter in the tradition. And when we came to Vermont, we were in a very different place. My daughter was all grown up. We were coming into a new space with the pandemic. And like all of you, we were all experiencing these tremendous changes that were happening so fast. And the first thing we did, after kind of getting settled a bit, is we wanted to reach out and find that community. So we came here to CVUUS, my husband and I did, and this was in the summer of 2022, and were introduced to the things that we were so familiar with, just the love, the openness, the beauty, the celebration of diversity, the celebration of the work that it takes to build collective community. And it has been a wonderful place to feel very anchored and to feel like you're in a space where there's so many differences that are celebrated and that are also, we're learning from each other constantly. And now we're going through another period of more change and more need to feel tethered and grounded in something that's real. And there is a common feeling here of that love and that devotion, and that dedication. And that's something that for my family, and I know for other families as well, that's just been a kind of that North Star that we've all really needed to feel like, okay, these times are tough, but we're all gonna put in what we can, and we're gonna do the work, and we're gonna do it together. And so the investment in having a community like this it's invaluable. Throughout our entire lives, from all of the changes from birth to death, we need that. And it's been such a privilege and an honor to be part of a community where that is very tangible in the work that's done here within our own space, and then also in the outreach to the community as well. So I'm very grateful to be a member of CVUUS. I'm very proud to be a member of CVUUS. And I'm also looking forward to continuing our support of CVUUS as well, so that we all have this wonderful, beautiful space to coexist within and to continue to build a very strong and vibrant community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. That was really lovely. It's so sweet to hear all the different ways that people end up here and how they feel about it. Come on up, Heidi.
Thank you.
I trusted myself to put these birds on my glasses this morning. For this delightful Roots and Wings incredibly optimistic report. Okay, I am Heidi Sillari, for those of you who might not know me. And first and foremost, to see you, I have to take these off. I want to again express gratitude on behalf of our team, the visiting stewards, and everyone who is working on this campaign. Tremendous energy and time and love has been put into our efforts so far, and it's really affirming to see that and be a part of it. So thank you all. Thank you all for opening your homes, for meeting us in coffee shops, for agreeing to sit with us, for your levels of discernment, and for your thoughtfulness too. So where we are, we've come along a little way from last week. So on the annual side of things, we have received 51 pledges to date, and that's at 59% of our goal. The number is 194,000 plus. I know this is a lot to keep in your head. And we have 51 commitments for the capital side, and we are now at very close to 84% of our goal, which is at 737,000, which is just extraordinary. And I think the other thing that's really extraordinary to share is that 73 meetings have taken place between ourselves and congregants to date. 22 are happening in this last week up to the finish line, and we're still trying to connect with 11 people. So I think that shows the effort that so many of us have put forth. So thank you. And one thing I will leave you with, and to underscore what Kate said last week, is we are now in the finish line. We have a week to go, and we're serious about our deadline, which we're going to celebrate next week with a colorful potluck. So I think what our team and visiting stewards really ask at this point, if you're still thinking about your longer-term capital commitment or not, we'd really love for you to focus on your annual pledge and get that in this week, because that will help inform our operating budget and make and create a lot of ease for the board and the finance team that worked so hard up until June when they present that to us. So thank you very much. And if any of you would love to have a pair of these, I can tell you how to create them by going to the dollar store.
Thank you so much for the update, Heidi. And thanks to the whole Roots and Wings campaign team. It's not always easy to ask people for money, but it's also really a great opportunity, for all of us to hear about the vision of the future and what we can do when we put our minds together. There are so many ways to get involved here at CVUUS, and some of them are on the back of your order of service, and they can all be found on the website, cvuus.org. The Community Ministry News and Opportunities page has some special opportunities to get involved with various social justice efforts. And sometimes we all just come together and have fun, just to have fun. I went to my first game night recently, and it was a total blast. Loved it. A couple of events that I just want to lift up that are coming up. One is a social justice ministry event, which Reverend Christina will describe later on in the service. And then there's the Contra Dance, which is an all-ages, non-gendered event with live music, and that has been rescheduled for Sunday, March 16th at 3 p.m. So every Sunday at CVUUS, we take up a collection and we share it with an organization doing important work. This month's Share the Plate donee is Atria Collective, a Middlebury-based nonprofit that serves people impacted by sexual, domestic, or dating violence. Atria Collective provides a range of services to people who have experienced violence and also educates the community to make it safer for everyone. Atria Collective serves people of all gender identities and supports collective liberation. Please be as generous as you can. The offering will now be most gratefully received.
Thank you for your generosity. So this is a time in the service for milestones and passages. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a version of Joys and Sorrows. And if you don't know what that is, it's a way for you as a community to share with each other the milestones and passages, the joys and sorrows that are happening in your life. So anytime during the service or before the service when you arrive, you can fill out one of these yellow cards and drop it in the basket during the offertory, and I will read it, or whoever is the worship leader will read it. There also are pink cards, and if you would like the Carey Network, which is an amazing group of people, or the ministers, to know something that's more private that you don't want the whole congregation to know, you can fill out a pink card, and we will contact you and hopefully meet your needs. So we have one card today, and this is from Ellen Flight. I'm surprised she made it here today. Thank you, Ellen, for coming. It's a big day. Yesterday, she wants to thank everyone. At CVUUS, there were a lot of members here yesterday helping and supporting with Vera, Ellen's mother, Vera Flight, her memorial service. It was very successful and meaningful. My whole family, says Ellen, felt your embrace. They loved the beauty of our space. My big brother-in-law, I can't read this. Jealous of our church. The kitchen, jealous of the kitchen. Ellen's sister and brother-in-law are from the church in Brookline, Mass. The family loved the flowers, which are still here, the music, and most of all, the kindness of so many of you. Our mom would have loved it as well. So, thank you, Ellen. Let's just take a moment, maybe closing our eyes, and just bringing awareness to any of our own milestones and passages that are happening that in our own lives, or maybe in the lives of those we love. And just holding those in this quiet space. And inviting the energy of the earth, our great mother, the energy of the cosmos, to bring love and light to our own hearts and the hearts of those we love. I'm going to ring the bells after I read a little reading by Hafiz, Persian poet. It's called Just Sit There Right Now. Just sit there right now. Don't do a thing. Just rest. For your separation from God, from love, is the hardest work in this world. Let me bring you trays of food and something that you like to drink. You can use my soft words as a cushion for your head. Just sit there right now. Don't do a thing. Just rest. For your separation from God, from love, is the hardest work in this world. Let me bring you trays of food and something that you like to drink. You can use my soft words as a cushion for your head. There's a Jewish parable I recently heard. Before an infant is born, the angel of conception infuses the infant with all their wisdom they need in their life. Then the angel puts their finger on the infant's lips and says, shh, as if there's a sealing of the secret pact before that child and God. And that's why we all have a very small indentation on our upper lip. For me, this parable is telling us that wisdom is inside. It's innate in each of us, but it's only available in the silence, in the stillness of our minds, only accessible when there is a shh, a quieting down, a pause. And for me, this wisdom is love. Then we're born into the world of form and chaos, and we need to manage the people, places, and things around us, and all of this distracts us from our inner wisdom. Inner wisdom is different than intuition and knowledge, and I'm not going to get into what those things mean, but inner wisdom can be understood as clear cognitive awareness that arises from quieting the mind, setting aside the ego, letting go of one's idea of how things should be, and compassionately listening to our own being. Modern culture has us worshiping at the altar of the thinking mind, the temple of the brain. We are taught that the thinking mind is the keeper of wisdom, and therefore dedicate our lives to reason in the form of knowledge and information. We need this to function in our fast-paced, scientifically advancing technological world, but not at the peril of our spirit. When I was a college undergrad, I was fascinated by reasoning and the science of the mind. I even took courses in logic. I thought if I only had enough knowledge about the human mind, I'd figure out who I am and what to do with my life. Well, that was not the case. The study of philosophy helped me realize that when I only see through the filter of reason, I end up in a prison of my own making. A quote by Immanuel Kant stuck with me. Science is organized knowledge. Wisdom is organized life. What I really wanted was an organized life. Inner wisdom comes to everyone, not only to highly evolved souls or spiritual teachers. And it may be true that we grow in wisdom as we age, but even the youngest of children trust their inner knowing. Author and lecturer Leo Buscaglia once talked about a contest when he was asked to judge. The purpose of the contest, this is a little weird I think, but it's true. The purpose of the contest was to find the most caring child. The winner was a 4-year-old whose next door neighbor was an elderly gentleman who had recently lost his wife. Upon seeing the man cry, the little boy went into the old gentleman's yard, climbed up on to his lap, and just sat there. When his mother asked him what he had said to the neighbor, the little boy said, "Nothing. I just helped him cry." This story reminds me of something one of my Hindu teachers shared with me decades ago about inner wisdom. She said, Inner wisdom is simply the capacity to connect with our authentic selves. And she said there are 3 types of wisdom that come together to create inner wisdom: cognitive wisdom, reflective wisdom, and compassionate wisdom. The little boy in the story was tapping into his compassionate wisdom, his empathy and concern for another. Without cognitive wisdom, the knowledge and ability to organize and think coherently, this worship service would not be happening, right? The poetry and the music we experience today may have emerged from the introspection and self-awareness of reflective wisdom. We need all 3 types of wisdom: cognitive, reflective, and what was the other one? You know, compassionate. It's written wrong in my script. To experience inner wisdom. So I ask you this: when was the last time you experienced inner wisdom? It doesn't have to be a big thing, right? How did it come to you? Did you act upon it? Did you ignore it? Or is it just a simple awareness or understanding? The first time I got married, I knew deep in my being that I was making a mistake. The feeling had been secretly growing. The night before my wedding, I was in my tiny little apartment in Cambridge with a very good friend who offered me a lot of space and a lot of listening. And my deepest self finally admitted that I should not be getting married. But I felt it was too late. I didn't have the courage to follow my inner knowing. I did not trust that if I followed it, that everything would be okay. So I went through with the wedding. It didn't work out. We separated 2 years later. But I learned to always trust myself. So how do we develop inner wisdom? Where does it come from? I used to think it came from spirituality and religion. How many of you have thought that? Nobody. That's not true. Okay. Well, when I was young, I did think it came from there. So I just explored so many different religions and spiritual practices. But I eventually realized that inner wisdom does not come from outside, right? It comes from inside. It comes from the deepest part of our being. And religious practices can help us in accessing our inner wisdom. My mom finds wisdom in her church when she prays. She does. My Buddhist friends find it through meditation. The Quakers I know, they find it sitting together in silence. Muslims find it through fasting. This past Friday was the beginning of Ramadan. I heard a segment on NPR where a Muslim mom was talking about her child who was too young to start fasting, but the child was pretty adamant, and the mom was going to let her fast for just like a little bit during the day, but she finally asked her daughter, like, why do you want to fast so bad? And her daughter said, I want to find that inner feeling of God, right? And maybe for many of you, religion has told you to mistrust your inner knowing, right? Or to fear your own inner subjective authority. And religion has done this. It has controlled people and it continues to control people. Our faith, Unitarian Universalism, from its beginnings, gave credence to personal revelation over orthodoxy. But I don't think it was articulated clearly until the 1800s with Emerson and his transcendentalism. Ralph Waldo Emerson placed utmost importance in our direct relationship with our spirit or soul. Within us, he said, is the temple wherein all wisdom and all good abide. This is the source of genius, virtue, and love. It is unmeasurable, he said, but we know that it pervades and contains us. From within or from behind, a light shines through us upon all things and makes us aware that we are nothing, but the light is all. So what is this light that Emerson is speaking about? It's different for all of us. Maybe it's universal intelligence, the soul, the spirit of life, our higher self. It can be what some of us call God, but it need not be God. In fact, God can sometimes become an obstacle to inner wisdom. Perhaps when we are still and go deep inside, uncomfortable feelings arise. Because that's the way to get to inner wisdom, is in silence and stillness. And those uncomfortable feelings, maybe they're sorrow, fear, loneliness, insecurity. But when we say okay to these deepest feelings and trust that they will lead us to where we need to go, then we grow and we become more of ourselves. Inner wisdom is the choice that recognizes pain and suffering as part of human experience. We can take heed in Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron's words. I love this. Our neurosis and our wisdom are made of the same material. If you throw out your neurosis, you also throw out your wisdom. As seekers and wanderers, as people on a spiritual path, we are called to open ourselves to another way of seeing, which is not bound by reason or a conditioning or secondhand information. But how do we do this in the midst of this frenzy world? Many of us walk through life in a trance, right? We're driven through the day by wants and fears, busyness and responsibilities. It's challenging to take time and stop and listen. I remember when I started my ministry at First Parish, I was working a lot. This is in Portland, for those of you who don't know, and I wouldn't make a decision until I asked 10 people if it was okay, right? And the best advice I got, because I didn't trust myself, and I was afraid of messing up, right? So those fears overshadowed my inner wisdom. And I remember the head of the trustees said to me, you don't have to ask 10 people, just do it, right? Just trust yourself, you know what to do. And remember, at the time, his words reminded me of lines of a Rumi poem called Community of Spirit. Be empty of worrying. Think of who created thought. Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open? Move outside the tangle of fear thinking. Live in silence. Flow down and down in always widening rings of being. Steve helped me see I was creating a prison for myself. And freedom and energy for both me and the congregation emerged as I began to trust my inner knowing. The poem, The Journey by Mary Oliver, is similar. She talks about the path of after breaking out of prison. I'm not going to read the whole thing, it's too long, but the beginning she says, one day you finally knew what you had to do. You know this poem, right? And began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice. Right, so those are our own voices, the voices of people in our lives, the voices on the media. It ends with, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. You know, we talk a lot about, as you used, about saving the world, right, or our communities. And if we don't go inside and find our truth, then the actions that we're doing are not actually going to create the world we're dreaming about. What I find fascinating about these two poets, Rumi and Oliver, separated by 800 years, right? Same advice, right? Our limitations are self-imposed. There's a Buddhist teaching that says, the quieter you become, the more you can hear. It continues, our inner wisdom is persistent but quiet. It will always whisper, but it will never stop knocking at your door. So I invite us into a practice right now. So you can ignore me if you like, but I invite you to close your eyes, maybe uncross your limbs. And we're going to use these three wisdoms to access our inner wisdom. So the first step is reflecting upon an issue or a problem you're struggling with. That's the first step. That's the cognitive wisdom, right? Creating a question with our mind. What's your question? What's your problem or issue? What's your struggle? And once that's clear, begin to cultivate compassion for yourself and maybe another, if another is involved. Compassion around this issue, around the people. And now let ourselves be really quiet and still and listen. Listen to the heart, the spirit, your highest self, God, whatever feels safe and comfortable. Listen with compassion and patience to the wisdom that may arise. You can continue this on your own later today. Part of the reason we're in prison as a culture is because we've moved away from the wisdom of the earth, the wisdom of our bodies, our spiritual selves. I've heard a few teachers and authors say that the sacred was lost when the TV was introduced. The sacred in this context being wisdom, connection, and love. So can we spend time away from the news, right? Away from the screens, away from the chaos of the world? Can we calm down? Stop trying so hard to figure everything out? Be patient. Spend time each day in silence, feeling our feelings, feeling fully present to what is, and practicing compassion. And we don't need to sit on a cushion or fast or pray, although that does work for some. We just need to tune out the noise, pollution around us and within us. Those voices shouting their bad advice. It fractures our beings into 1,000 pieces. As John O'Donohue said in his poem, can we place on the altar of dawn the quiet loyalty of breath? Can we risk being changed and not waste our hearts on fear? Our society is in trouble. We know this. Partially because so many of our institutions and governments are cut off from the wisdom of the greater whole. But we can be connected to it, right? We can move out of that tangle of fear, get rid of those old nagging voices and leave them behind. And we are doing it, I can feel it. We're creating a collective community of wisdom, right? This is a collective community of wisdom. And as time goes on, we have to strengthen that. We have to spend more time reflecting. So we can't wait any longer, right? To follow our soul's longing, to take the journey, to leave behind the fear. Let us not, as one of my earliest spiritual teachers, Stephen Levine, describes in his poem, live a half life. Half life. We walk through our half life as if it were a fever dream, barely touching the ground, our eyes half open, our heart half closed. Not half knowing who we are, we watch the ghost of us drift from room to room, through friends and lovers, never quite as real as advertised. Not saying half we mean, we dream ourselves from birth to birth, seeking some true self, until the fever breaks and the heart cannot abide a moment longer as the rest of us awakens, summoned from the dream, not caring for anything but love. I think the choir's gonna sing.
Hallelujah. When a song is called an anthem, you know it's going to be good. Like that word is reserved for the really good songs. So in preparing this service, Reverend Christina described her sermon to me, and one thing that jumped out at me was the role of silence and quiet. And because I'm a music lover, when I think of the power of silence, my thoughts turn to the mind-blowing jazz album Kind of Blue by Miles Davis, one of the most highly regarded jazz albums of all time. And this album was a radical departure from Davis's previous work, which was characterized by complex chord progressions and layers of sound and busyness. And Reverend Christina described going from chaos to quiet, and that's sort of what Miles Davis did with this album, which is really notable for its quiet and its emotion. And as Davis said, in music, silence is more important than sound. The music is the space between the notes. And when I listen to Kind of Blue, I can't do anything but just listen to it. Like, it can't be background music. You have to just listen. And it's got this balance of sound and space. And as each musician's solo enters that melancholy space, I feel transfixed. Like the solo seems like a revelation as it enters the quiet. And fun fact, as I was sort of reminding myself the details of this album, I learned that it was recorded on this day, March 2nd, 1959. So we're now going to extinguish the chalice. After that, Liam is going to bring a little bit more music into our lives. So please recite the words for extinguishing the chalice with me. We extinguish this flame, remembering always to keep love at the center. And after Liam's song, please enjoy the postlude and come downstairs for social hour.
There we go. At the end of the day, silence and Kind of Blue describes my mental state fairly well. Silent and Kind of Blue. And sometimes I go to the piano and I mess around with improvisation that doesn't come close to Miles Davis, but it's my own music, I suppose. And sometimes I go to familiar songs, and this is one that I go to. It's about needing signs of love to find comfort, strength, to kind of face another day. That anthem that we sang, that was big, that was glorious. Oh, wow, powerful. But then think about, how does love come to you? And it comes to me, sorry, it comes to me when I look in your eyes, when I think about the conversations that we have, when I think about meeting for coffee, when I think about driving somebody home and talking in their driveway. That's when the love that we talk about and sing about becomes palpable and real. And it meets me in the silence of blue. Comfort me, your love will comfort me. Letting go, now I see new hope embracing me. When I'm lost in the shadows and I can't find my way, when my heart is aching for wholeness, you call my spirit free. Comfort me, your love will comfort me. Letting go, now I see new hope embracing me. Time will heal all my sorrows, and I will sing again, and I will know the truth of this journey, and I will live again. Comfort me, oh comfort me, your love will comfort me. Letting go, now I see new hope embracing me. Thank you.
Just a few more minutes and then we can go downstairs and have some refreshments. I just want to thank everyone who helped with this service today. Thank you, Liam, for that beautiful song. Thank you, choir and Jennifer. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Liam, again, for being the gatherer and the slides. Thank you, Abi, for working the camera. Thank you, Mary, for everything that she does. She does a lot. Who am I forgetting? Thank you to Kimberly and Heidi for the Roots and Wings message. Yeah, they never get thanked, do they? Alan, people that do coffee hour, right? He's probably already down there. He's already down there. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Is Jacob here? Oh. Well, those are your photos. I didn't know. Thank you, Jacob, for your photos. We could just keep going all afternoon. And Marnie and Cass, right? You guys ushered? Who am I forgetting? Oh, who did the flowers? Marnie and Dinah. They're I was going to swear. They're amazing. They were for Vera, and now they're for us, right? Okay. And the last thing I want to say is, if you're free next Saturday morning, it's not going to snow. And even if it does, right? We are getting together for a couple hours, just 2 hours, probably a little longer, to really go deeper into the justice work that we have begun here, right? So we're going to be widening the conversation and vision of how this congregation shows up with and for the marginalized, not centering our own agenda, like that saving part of us, which is not a bad thing, but really trying to, or I'm going to take the word trying away, listening to other people's voices so that we can create collective action, right, through relationship, connection, and organizing, right? So this will deepen and widen our community of communities that we've been working on, which is happening, which is exciting. So come next Saturday, there'll be bagels, so there'll be breakfast, and put your faith into action. That's it. I'll see you next week, and let's all get some refreshments. Have a beautiful day.